All rise. Lewis County Fiscal Court is now in session.
Okay, we have Mr. Kevin Duff here with us today from Ailes Christian Church, and he's going to pray for us. Thank you, Kevin.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for Jesus and this opportunity to come here today, Father. We're thankful, Father, that we're in this nation. We just celebrated our 250th birthday, Father. We're thankful that we're in a community that I can stand up here and say the name Jesus and not have to be called out for it or even be arrested for it. Just, Father, provide wisdom for our leaders here, Father. May they seek data and seek knowledge and not favors. Protect their integrity, Father, and their character as they move forward, Father. Provide them with your vision for this community, and may they serve our community well, Father. We also pray that you'll protect our first responders, the deputies, the sheriff, all the first responders in the county, and just be with this county, Father, as we move forward. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Kevin. And I'll ask Sheriff Johnny Bivens to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sheriff. And now I'll ask the Treasurer Penny Lee to do the roll call.
Joey McCann. Yes. Woody Underwood. Mark Horsley.
Yes.
Johnny Osborne. Judge Sparks.
Yes. Okay, first on the agenda is approval of minutes from the regular meeting on June 8th, 2026.
Make a motion. Second.
So we got a motion from Mark, second from Woody. Further discussion? All in. Clerk call roll.
Woody Underwood.
Yes.
Mark Horsley.
Yes.
Johnny Osborne. Judge Sparks.
Yes.
Joey McCann. Yes.
Approval of minutes from the special meeting June 26th, 2026. Make a motion. Motion from Johnny, second from Joey. Any further discussion? Clerk call roll.
Mark Horsley.
Yes.
Johnny Osborne. Judge Sparks.
Yes.
Joey McCann. Woody Underwood.
Yes.
Okay, welcome guests, and any response from the public?
You gotta turn it on here? It's been a minute, but I think most of you know me. My name is Carrie Cox, and I'm a minister in the community as well as a magazine publisher. I'm proud to say we have 65 million magazines in circulation in the United States and Canada. So when you guys are ready to get underway with your tourism stuff, I hope you'll come talk to us. I'm here today to talk about our taxes, and because God compelled me to come and talk to you all. Ezekiel 33, 7 through 9 basically says that if I don't bring my grievances to you, that I am complacent in your sin. And I can't do that to you or to me. I recently gave a sermon about Jonathan Mayhew and how several decades before Jonathan Mayhew, or before the American Revolution, Jonathan Mayhew said, disobedience to tyrants is obedience to God. And he was preaching on Romans 13. And so I serve God, I don't serve man. That's in Acts 5:29. God put us on the land that is in dispute with this fiscal court. Micah 2, 1 through 2 says, "What sorrow awaits you who lay awake at night, thinking of evil plans. You rise at dawn and hurry to carry them out, simply because you have the power to do so. When you want a piece of land, you find a way to seize it. When you want someone's house, you take it by fraud and violence. You cheat a man of his property, stealing his family's inheritance." God brought my family to this farm over 200 years ago when Rachel Jack and Charles Cox first set foot on the land. And I can name every person from them up until my husband and I purchased the land. Proverbs 22 through 28 says, "Don't cheat your neighbor by moving the ancient boundary markers that were put there by previous generations." We have an original will, a deed, and a survey that William Henderson created to keep the government or anyone else from trying to steal the land. Trump everything else. Job 24:2 says evil men steal land by moving the boundary markers. We have been injuncted from exercising our property rights that we currently and continue to pay taxes on for nearly a decade now. We purchased the 2017. It will be 2000 next year. We have had our property rights denied while we have been slandered and defamed. Our animals have been killed. I have been assaulted and shot at. And yet repeatedly in court documents, we hear the attorneys that represent you say that we have no damages. No one has ever apologized to us. No one has ever attempted to make what's happened to us right or to right the court record. Psalm 35:11 says, "Malicious witnesses testify against me. They accuse me of crimes that I know nothing about." Well, I believe that fraud has been committed on the courts, and Isaiah 59 has a lot to say about that. We have multiple surveys, including one from 1891. The drawings for each survey look identical, yet your county surveyor, Mike Ruggles, is the only one that says that our property line goes to the center of the creek. Well, if our property line goes to the center of the creek, then our barn, our house, our smokehouse, our yard wall, all of these static monuments that are named in our deed wouldn't fit on our property. Mike Ruggles admitted during his deposition that point C on the map, a point called out in our deed, lies on the other, not in the middle. Yet there has been no attempt by this fiscal court to remedy the situation. In fact, Mike Ruggles changed our PVA map prior to the fiscal court filing the lawsuit against us, which was testified to in one of the depositions. That's right. You filed the lawsuit against us. We did not file a lawsuit against you. Yet we heard testimony from fiscal court members stating they were told that we filed a lawsuit against them. They thought that they were simply responding to our lawsuit because that's what they were allegedly told. Ben Harrison did the title search and closing on our house in private practice. He turned around in his capacity as county attorney and sued us, saying that he didn't sell us, but he sold us. We said we wanted to use our title insurance to defend that, and he said, "Oops, I took your money but forgot to get it." The window of opportunity to fess up and fix these things is closing. Hosea 5:10 says, "The leaders of Judea have become like thieves, so I will pour my anger out on them like a waterfall." The FBI's public corruption team has been at my door multiple times to discuss this situation. Your county attorney and your county surveyor have been under investigation. Numbers 32:23 says, "But you failed to keep your word. Then you will have sinned against the Lord, and you may be sure that your sin will be found out." We are here to speak today because we don't know if you all are complacent or simply ignorant to the facts. George Sparks, I believe that you're a good man. I watched you read scripture to people during COVID. You testified during your deposition that you wanted to do the right thing. Yet I have repeatedly asked you to confer with your attorneys, and you have made no movement in that direction. In fact, you admitted during your deposition that tax dollars were being spent to sue us on behalf of other unnamed individuals, and that was a precedent being set in Lewis County that had never been done before. Exodus 23:1-2 says, "You must not pass along false rumors. You must not cooperate with evil people by lying on the witness stand. You must not follow the crowd in doing wrong. When you are called to testify in a dispute, do not be swayed by the crowd or twisted by justice." Woody, I believe that you're a good man. You're a man of God. I've heard you testify to that many times. We've heard other people who were members of this fiscal court say that they were misinformed. And I don't see you helping work to remedy the situation. And James 4:17 says, remember it is a sin to know what you ought to do and then not do it. And Ephesians 5:11 says, take no part in the worthless deeds of evil and darkness. Instead, expose them. One of you sitting on this fiscal court was present the day that I was assaulted. I have you on video, and yet you're allowed to make votes about what happens to us or have any say in what happens to our land when you were there with people who were criminally charged. Another of you was prominent in disseminating misinformation about our family, and you too have taken part in this continued charade. God brought us here. We aren't going to go away. We aren't going to relinquish our land because that would be a sin. It is a sin for us to walk away from someplace that God put us. And it is a sin for you to steal it. You are already taking our tax dollars while denying us our rights and not being good stewards of the tax dollars of other citizens by perpetuating potential fraud on the court. Exodus 20:15 says, thou shalt not steal. It's a good time to discuss this because you're looking at Ben's budget. Who is representing the county? How much are you paying other people to represent the county in this dispute that's lasted almost a decade now? Because Ben has a conflict of interest. Every time we have to charge someone criminally, another attorney has to be paid because Ben has a conflict of interest. I don't know if that comes out of his budget or your fiscal budget, but I can tell you that taxpayers are footing that bill. So when you know better, God expects you to do better. And I will continue to pray for you. I hold no animosity nor no judgment against you. But I would be remiss as a minister for not bringing this to you. Luke 12:2-3 says, the time is coming when everything that is covered up will be revealed, and all that is secret will be made known to all. Whatever you have said in the dark will be heard in the light, and what you have whispered behind closed doors will be shouted from the housetops for all to hear.
Thank you, and
I'm Guy Mead. I also own that property that we were just previously discussed. This is from the families of Lewis County. The previous owner, of which I own the same land as he does. Basically, you know, this is wrote in your own historic society that he did build the bridge. I believe he did the carpentry of the bridge. I don't know that he contracted it, but I do believe he's the only mentioned carpenter in your history of Lewis County. So that, I think, says a whole lot, being as I was a carpenter myself many years. But the land, which the covered bridge was constructed, belonged to William Henderson. That's what it says in your own documents here in your own town. A town I wish to become a part of. This is part of the will. It's a map and a survey. It shows point C on the east side. The other side. It shows it, point C. I've blown this up. And this is part of a will. It's a 6-page document. It was made, his deed was made for the children in 1891 to understand what they own. This divides his property. There's point A, B, C, all the way through J, K, L. This goes with this property. And you all have record of it. You all have access to this. You can look at this. I wish you would. To give it a little more in detail, our deed, beginning at a large sycamore on the east side, hit C on the map. That's my deed, on the east side. That's what this whole argument is, center of the creek, east side. And it includes the house, smokehouse. We have measurements off it, the stone wall, it follows the stone wall. My deed, my drawing, I do surveying myself. I'm allowed to survey for me. My deed, my surveyor survey, the 1891 map, they all match. They all match, they're the same. Again, that's all available to you. My neighbors, I actually drew the neighbor's property. I drew it on a piece of paper as big as that television over there. I drew this. And his says 34 poles to intersect with the Maysville Road near the covered bridge, near, not on, near. In the same paragraph, I have them highlighted, above, passing the center of the bridge over Coles Branch. So we're passing the center of that bridge on Coles Branch. That's further up. Same paragraph, same deed, same piece of land. This is Mike Ruggles' drawing of the neighbor's land. That's mine. They look identical because they are. I know what I'm talking about. This is the PVA that was original. It has been, as my wife said, it has been changed. It was changed 4 days before. And when I say you, it's not you guys, because it was a previous branch. So I'm not, if I say you, it doesn't mean you guys. But basically the court came and said, well, this isn't correct, even though it matches my survey, my surveyor's survey, 1891 survey. They changed the PVA 4 days before the suit was filed against me. That is this suit. 8/6/20, that was filed. So that's what I received from the state. I restored a historical house from a very important man that preceded. My family was from the Carter area, not from Lewis County, but this was a very important man in the region. And I was hoping to do a lot of nice things. And so you all know, this is something I received from the House of Representatives in Ohio, where I came from. I was never a politician. I never ran for office, never looked for favors from the government. Government tends to hand out awards like popcorn at Rural King. That's not what this is. I'm just a private citizen. But I did something very good for my community. So for what it's worth, fellas, at least look it up, save the taxpayers some money. I like Buddy Likens, but you're paying him a lot of money, and other attorneys, to take care of everything down there. And that should be included in your fiscal lawyer, lawyer's bill, the attorney's fees, etc. This has been going on for a long, long time. So I'm just giving it to you straight up. I have no animosity. Like I said, this was handed to you guys. This wasn't like something you all did yourselves. So it's not an accusation. It's just simply, I think this could be cleaned up much easier, truthfully, honestly, and in a Christian way. I do appreciate your time, gentlemen.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, there is no old business, so we'll move on to new business. Mr. County Coordinator, Executive Director of Trade Secretary Development.
Thank you, Judge, members of Fiscal Court. I'm going to present today. I do have a presentation. You do have a copy of the slides, hard copy in front of you. I want to talk about the initiative. And so the reason why I'm here today is because we have been working since this time last year following the development of energy, specifically nuclear energy within the Commonwealth of Kentucky. The Industrial Authority brings forward a recommendation to the Fiscal Court today to proceed with the education for the community and community engagement piece of nuclear energy, and in particular a new certification that was been passed in Senate Bill 57 about nuclear energy ready certified community. We're not here today to talk about a specific project because we don't have one. We don't have a specific site that we're technically looking at. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but really this is about a partnership between SOAR, which is shaping our Appalachian region, and Buffalo Trace. We are both contracted with by the Office of Energy and Environment here in Kentucky to deliver the education on the nuclear ready certification. And so we have developed a partnership with SOAR. There's 4 key areas if you look there. Number 1 is to educate the community about providing clear and trusted information about nuclear energy and all the manufacturing processes that go along with this certification. So this is not just about building power plants. In order to be a manufacturer or an industry that locates to the county, to produce, such as transformers that would be used in a nuclear facility anywhere in the country. You would have to be a nuclear-ready certified county before that company would be able to locate here. The education piece of Nuclear Ready basically is to engage the community, connect the communities through events and resources, and do the education process. And then what that does, that empowers your community to say, hey, we want this or we want that, we'll do this, we have these sites available, we don't have these sites available, and long and short, it empowers the community to get a voice up front. Without going into specific details, on both sides of Lewis County, you have projects that are happening that communities found out long after a project was being talked about. The reason Senate Bill 57 passes the Nuclear Ready certification process is so that communities are engaged at the beginning of the process, before projects ever come to fruition, so that they have a voice in that, how their land is used, what sites would be good, what would not be good, so the community is invited up front. So with this partnership, if you look at the next slide, here's the timeline. Just going to be very frank with you. Last year, about August of 2025, I started as the representative for Lewis County as far as the economic development pieces of that. We started following NEDA, which is the Kentucky Nuclear Energy Development Authority. We started following their hearings on Senate Bill 57. We started researching and discussing potential sites in the whole Buffalo Trace region. I do anticipate that we will talk about this in all 5 counties, as it is a new certification. And so we started looking at all of that. So then we followed in legislative session. When you get to January through April, we looked at Senate Bill 57. It was finalized in legislation. It was passed. Several changes to it. But while that was going on, Kentucky Public Service Commission held multiple public hearings across the state to discuss nuclear energy and to hear public comments. And that has raised a lot of education and engagement in the community. The closest of those was held at Morehead State University. There were several from Lewis County and Buffalo Trace region that attended to represent the region at that public hearing. I also attended Lexington. We had staff at Northern Kentucky. And so we started following what the Public Service Commission, those hearings that were occurring. In May of 2026, PSC held a technical nuclear summit that we attended. It was a 2-day summit in Frankfurt. They brought in the education aspects from across the country, from folks from TVA that are already doing things in Tennessee, folks from Georgia, folks with GAIN, all the federal folks, and we listened to all of that technical side and information. And at that point made a decision that our region needs to look a little bit harder at this and get in front of this issue. Energy is a big issue. Energy is a big issue for Lewis County, as you well know. Anytime you talk about Vanceburg and the electric rates, it's an energy issue. And so it all comes back. Kentucky has been an energy producer and an export of energy for many years. And so this is a big topic. So we entered into discussions with the state, with SOAR, and over the past couple of months, we've been planning engagement activities that will engage the community in public hearings, public education process, just to educate folks in our community, not only about the energy issue as a whole, and not just about all the economic development certifications, but in particular, to start looking at how would nuclear energy be viable or not viable for our region. This is important for Buffalo Trace, and here's why. Fleming County, we all know Maxey Flats exist, correct? Maxey Flats is out on the Round County, Fleming County border. It is a known radioactive dump site. It's been there for years, and so years ago, before they ever knew really much about the radioactive side, trucks came down 64 and found a good piece of land, and they dumped their waste, not knowing what it would produce down the future. And the state's been taking care of that ever since. Those are the things we don't want to happen again. Those are the things that we want to be informed, educated, and we want our community members to decide. There's parts of nuclear energy that, to be quite frank, we probably want. There's probably parts of it we don't want anything to do with, if that makes sense. But before we know that, we have to be educated on how that works. And so our plan has been planning in June and July, and we plan to engage, if you approve today, the recommendation from the Industrial Authority to move forward with community engagement in August for our community. And so then you have to ask, why Kentucky? Why Lewis County? As you all know, I was Economic Development Director at Buffalo Trace 11, 12 years ago. And all I've heard throughout all my tenure through the years of being in economic development is Lewis County has the River Rail AA highway. We have an available workforce. 3,274 of our residents drive outside of county every single day to go to work. So we have an available workforce that could stay right here and work. And we have market access. And why Kentucky? If you look at this map is produced by the Economic Development Cabinet. If you look at a 300-mile circle around Kentucky, you see the multiple population. If you go 600 miles, you're taking in the East Coast. Basically, Kentucky is in 1 day's drive of 2/3 of the U.S. population. And so Kentucky is already exporting energy to the East Coast. So it becomes a very strategic state within the economic development of the eastern side of the country. So let's talk a little bit more about Senate Bill 57. What did the legislators do? So Senate Bill 57 encourages long-term planning. Planning that just doesn't start with a project and end with a project, but it helps communities evaluate future infrastructure and what the needs are going to be and what's available and what opportunities for projects that are proposed to come along. And so it gives a framework for local communities to assess whatever potential sites they may have, to understand what your current infrastructure is. To be quite frank, do you have the roads, bridges? Do you have the electric grid? Do you have the water to support these types of projects, whatever may be needed for the industry? It sets a framework for a community to get active, proactive in planning. And if there's been any one thing through the years that I think that we sometimes feel like we miss out in Lewis County, is that we've not been proactive on the front end, pursuing education and knowing what's going on with the project, and we're always reactive. So a project comes and we're reactive and we're not ready because we don't have the right water line. We don't have the right electric in that location. We don't have natural gas to that location. And all of those things in Senate Bill 57 set up a framework to study what we do have and don't have and be prepared for whatever comes in the future. The other piece of that is the workforce piece. SOAR is already working with major nuclear energy companies, and they're training Eastern Kentucky power plant workers to do closeouts at nuclear plants. Some of those jobs pay $150,000 a year, and they work 21 weeks out of the year. Those are already happening. Our workforce team with TENCO has been partnering with SOAR to deliver those programs to our workers here in our region. And so you do have to, as a community, look at the economic impacts and look at the impacts to your county. But until you enter into a conversation with your community, you can never know what the impacts would truly be. So Senate Bill 57 sets a framework for nuclear energy and studying of the nuclear future of Kentucky. It positions us as a national leader for nuclear energy. It did establish a nuclear reactor site readiness pilot project. There's already activity going on in the Paducah area where the previous gaseous diffusion plant. So there are things that are happening in the state that was set up in Senate Bill 57, but it's ultimately designed, is your community nuclear ready? And that public engagement would occur to determine that. So the primary piece of Senate Bill 57 is public education and transparency, and it is required. You can't skip this step. You can't have a company come in and not do the public education piece if you want that project to come in. You have to be upfront about the education and transparent about what the community intends to do in relation to this. And so public meetings, public notices are required. All of those conversations are upfront conversations. The Area Development District role our role in the region, created in 1969, was to be a convener of people. Our job is to pull federal, state, local people together, get them in the same room, and talk through the projects, talk through the issues. And that's why I believe that this was best suited for Buffalo Trace and SOAR to deliver to our communities, and the state felt the same way. So Senate Bill 57 ultimately encourages informed public discussion so that communities can make decisions based on facts, education, and local priorities. The local community gets to have the say in this before a project ever comes, and that's the key of what this accomplishes. I will say as well, on the next slide, process of the certification is community driven. I don't get to dictate the process to you. We could deliver the education, we deliver the information, we deliver the public education, we deliver the community engagement. We will involve you as leaders. We will involve the City of Vanceburg, the Industrial Authority, the school districts, any other partners that need to come to the table. We'll engage all of those in that participation. We'll be transparent through the process. There'll be a website that will list all the information that's collected. The surveys will be public information. The meetings will be held publicly for anybody to attend and encouraged to attend and to come and to listen. I can tell you the framework for the first education will be a couple of speakers, an introduction to the community, and then there'll be work tables that will be set up similar to this table that folks can go around the room, talk to different officials, learn about the nuclear process, learn about the energy side, but also learn about the workforce side. Have an opportunity to engage with state officials on how the developments are going, new technologies that are coming about day in and day out. Gives an opportunity for the community to experience it, and we bring it here to the community. The last thing that I want to say is it's really about local voices and local decisions. Lewis County is going to lead the way. We're going to discuss the topic, have the public input, have the local government resolutions. There's a resolution before you today that all that resolution does, that resolution is set that you are just going to proceed with the education of our community. You're going to engage the public to see if this is something that the public wants to do. The resolution today does not lock you into a project, doesn't lock you in to say that we are going to be a certified county, doesn't lock you into any of that, but it is a resolution that sets a step forward to say we want the community to join us in the path and in the study that we've engaged in the past year. And that recommendation comes from the Industrial Authority. As far as nuclear energy, your last slide, I do want to say this. When it comes to safety and regulation, that remains federal responsibility. So Senate Bill 57 did not take away anything from the federal government. The federal government is the sole regulator of nuclear facilities under the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, NRC. I'm trying hard not to use the acronyms because that's what I'm so used to. It does not bypass any of that federal oversight. It just sets a stage for our communities to consider whether or not this is something they want within their community. Given the climate of projects that are happening in the region, I think this is a critical step. I think it's the right step, or I wouldn't be recommending it. I think our communities need to be upfront and discussing. I think there'll be other topics that come about as far as economic development in these discussions that we'll also learn about that. So that's my presentation. You have a resolution before you today to proceed with the education. The resolution is lengthy. It does spell out several key things that this does not lock you into a project, does not lock you into the certification, but it does say we want to engage our community in the education about nuclear energy and work towards the potential of nuclear ready certification. So with that, I'll be free to answer any questions I can answer.
Questions for Kevin?
How many counties has it been presented to?
You are the first county that I have presented to.
Okay. And one last question. I think Rich might have a question. So
I kind of read through the resolution. Is there, why a need for the resolution if it's just simply coming and doing educational classes?
The need for the resolution is to say that the county wants to proceed, that you're engaged in the process. That's the purpose, and that's part of the certification process that the state set forward. They want to see that the local governments want to pursue that education and pursue that certification. You have to have buy-in at all across the spectrum. I believe it's the last page that has a list of things that it does not lock you into. It doesn't lock you into anything. But I think it's a very detailed resolution because they want to see that the county has considered this engagement. I know from an economic development standpoint, I would rather have an upfront community engagement and process with you if we bring a project. And I think in this process, I think there's things that the community will learn to understand about economic development. You know, one of the big topics is NDAs. I'm not under an NDA. Have I signed an NDA in the past 12 months? I have. That project did not come to fruition, and that NDA is cleared. We have a lot of interest in the county and in multiple sites along the river. We have the Black Oak Industrial Park. We have, it's private property, but property at Nelson Brothers. We're up at St. Paul. There's river bottom land there that is in private hands. There's property along the Carr site and on down the river. There's a lot of interest in those sites, and we've done, I believe, 11 requests for information on various sites in Lewis County for economic development in the past 18 months. And all of that is just general information. You know, how much natural gas can you provide for us? What size water lines? How many acres can you sell to us? What's the lay of the land? What's the due diligence? What's the geotechnical version of that land? There's a lot of due diligence that goes into effect. Before you can ever begin with this topic, you have to engage the community. The state has set that bar. And I do believe energy is a big topic for our region. You know, one of the things I would say, you know, everybody has said for years, we have the river, rail, and the double-A highway. So guess what energy? Look at where your power plants are. They're along the Ohio River. What do they need to get into them? Large shipments of goods. Where do you get that? River and rail. And you have the double-A highway. And so county is positioned, and Kentucky is positioned to be a leader, and always has been a leader in energy export with the coal industry.
Thank you, Kevin. Do we have any other questions for him? If not, Ben, you want to read the resolution? Resolution number 2616, resolution of Lewis County Fiscal Court supporting the Kentucky Nuclear Energy Ready Community Certification process and establishing community principles for future nuclear energy related development. Whereas the Commonwealth of Kentucky has adopted policies and initiatives intended to strengthen Kentucky's readiness for advanced nuclear energy development through support for workforce training, supply chain participation, site evaluation activities, and related energy innovation efforts. And whereas the Kentucky Nuclear Energy Development Authority established the Nuclear Energy Ready Community Certification process pursuant to Resolution 64.2804 to recognize communities prepared to responsibly evaluate and participate in nuclear energy related economic development opportunities. And whereas the Nuclear Energy Ready Community Certification process includes public educational meetings, community engagement, local government participation, and evaluation of potential development opportunities. And whereas Lewis County recognizes that participation in emerging energy economy may create opportunities related to workforce development, skilled trades employment, manufacturing and supply chain participation, infrastructure investment, research and innovation, partnerships and industrial recruitment, and economic competitiveness. And whereas Lewis County Fiscal Court further recognizes that community readiness should be built through transparent public engagement, continued education, and meaningful opportunities for residents to ask questions and participate in future discussions. And whereas Lewis County desires to evaluate future opportunities in a manner that protects local interests, preserves local authority, and ensures continued public involvement throughout the future project consideration process. Now therefore be resolved by the Lewis County Fiscal Court. Section 1, support for nuclear rate community participation. Lewis County Fiscal Court hereby affirms its support for designation of Lewis County as a nuclear ready community through the Kentucky Nuclear Energy Development Authority process, and recognizes the county's completion of public engagement, community and education activities associated with such designation. The Fiscal Court further expresses its intent to responsibly position the county for potential nuclear energy related economic development, workforce supply chain, infrastructure, and educational opportunities while preserving continued public engagement and local decision-making authority. Section 2, limit public engagement. The county affirms that community engagement should extend beyond minimum statutory requirements and should include continued opportunities for public education, community dialogue, and stakeholder participation regarding nuclear energy-related opportunities. The county supports public educational meetings, community question and answer sessions, distribution of factual educational materials, continued communication with residents and stakeholders, and coordination with schools, workforce providers, economic development organizations, energy management, and local municipalities. Section 3, community opportunity goals. The county seeks to responsibly position itself for potential long-term economic opportunities, including workforce training and skilled trades, employment, manufacturing, and supply chain participation, industrial and infrastructure investment, educational partnerships, and increased competitiveness for future energy-related investment opportunities. Section 4, expectations for nuclear energy-related development. Lewis County Fiscal Court states that any company, developer, contractor, supplier, or organization seeking significant nuclear energy-related investment or development within the county is strongly encouraged to demonstrate commitment to the following principles: A, continued community engagement, timely and transparent public communication, meaningful opportunities for public input, public information meetings as projects advance, and designated community points of contact. B, local workforce and economic participation, good faith efforts toward local hiring and workforce partnerships, coordination with regional educational institutions and training providers, and consideration of local contractors, suppliers, and businesses where feasible. C, transparency and coordination, clear communication regarding project scope, timeliness, including pathways, and coordination with local governments, infrastructure providers, and emergency management agencies. D, responsible development practices, attention to infrastructure impacts, traffic, land use, compatibility, and public safety, and compliance with all applicable federal, state, and local laws and regulations. Section 5, preservation of local authority. Nothing in this resolution or participation in the nuclear energy ready community designation process shall be interpreted as approval of any specific nuclear project or facility, a commitment to provide tax incentives or public funding, automatic approval of zoning, land use, or permitting actions, waiver of future environmental or regulatory review, or limitation of the authority of current or future elected officials or governing bodies. All future projects shall remain subject to separate public review and approval processes as required by law. Section 6, continued evaluation of public process. The county intends to continue evaluating nuclear energy-related opportunities through ongoing public engagement and future discussions as additional information becomes available. Section 7, effective date. This resolution shall take effect immediately upon adoption.
Okay, any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution. I'll just go ahead and make a motion to approve the resolution.
Yes, the resolution, basically it's just for community involvement, engagement, education. I'll second that motion.
I would, I was kind of just talking to Mark there a second ago. I think education is perfect. I love that concept of it. I think that is exponentially great. I'd like to, I've not, this is like I've seen this today, right? And I would like to have some more conversations with you if you'd be open to that, Kevin, and have those conversations. And my understanding, if you table something, then it automatically has to go on the next agenda and has to be addressed in the next public meeting, correct? So even if that, like, if we don't want to go a full month, I would entertain a special call meeting to have this on. If we wanted a shorter timeline, I'm not saying stretch it out a month, but something to have some conversations with. I know Mark's well versed in it. He said he would, take some time to talk with us. And almost have an educational process about what this is. Where you could have even if you had a working session and, but there is.
And I think
There
that's-
is a first and second, I get it. I would like to have a little more, I would like to have a little more knowledge of exactly what this is.
Well, I understand that. Is there any other discussions or, John here, Joe, do you know?
I would just make a motion to table and then we can figure out the timeline, so anybody.
Kevin, how would that impact the schedule? I know that
Is there
Well,
a schedule?
we've been working towards the first community engagement meeting of Thursday, August the 6th. That's not finalized, but we do have state folks that are willing to come in then. So in order to get the advertisements and get the community engaged, I don't know how much, I think the key is what we're introducing is the process of Senate Bill 57.
Sure.
I don't know how much more detail I can offer to that. I think the key is we all need to take time to have the state folks come and begin that education process. And the resolution is dedicating you to that process. I think that's the critical part, so that you're upfront with the community. We want to pursue the education on the topic.
Oh, I think that piece is critical. It has to happen, 100%. I'm just saying, is there one of those meetings, did we have an educational meeting prior with the community, prior to the approval of this resolution and the educational meetings to follow? That's when I'm taking that educational meeting concept and saying it's wonderful. Like, I'm not roadblocking that. I think that's hugely critical, but then have something where we could have that educational meeting prior to. Does that make sense?
So what's the reservation on the resolution? If the resolution is doing exactly what you just said, what is the reservation on passing the resolution to do that process?
I would just like to research the Senate bill a little deeper, and then there's some things here in the resolution, like section 4, it says, where the county strongly encourages, that doesn't mean they're really actually held to that standard. Right, we can strongly encourage the speed limit, right, but are we strongly encouraging, or are we saying you're doing it or not doing it? Does that make sense? That was one point, so.
I think the language in the resolution is what the community needs to hear, and
sure,
because they need to know that the county does not have a project, you don't have a specific site, that this process is designed to engage the community before anything ever happens.
No, I like it. Is there any legal issues with releasing a resolution to the public prior, saying this is a resolution that is going before your board, or fiscal board? I think it's a great idea, Kevin.
I mean, that's why the resolution is put there today. It's just, I think correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, but there's nothing in the resolution that binds the fiscal court to any action at all.
No.
To approve a project other than encouraging the community engagement.
It just starts that process, right? Like, I would assume the process can't start until we do this.
I guess we could start it, but I'd rather not. I would rather have fiscal court's blessing to say, we want to engage in this activity.
Is there how many weeks lead time would you want prior to the August date to be able to have a resolution signed?
Well, I think, in all fairness, to make sure I get advertisement to where the community has plenty of time to plan and to do that, we need it probably by the end of this week. I guess I don't understand what the concern or the hiccup is on passing the resolution.
I think my only concern is just to make sure I fully understand what this is, and I don't.
Okay.
I don't know the way to say it. Like, I just don't fully understand what I'm looking at.
I guess section 5 really made me feel a whole lot better about it. It's nothing in this resolution or participation in the nuclear energy ready community designation process shall be impertinent today. Approval of any specific nuclear project or facility.
Sure.
A commitment to provide tax incentives for public money. Automatic approval of zoning, land use, or permit actions. Waiver of future environmental or regulatory review, or limitation of the authority of current or future elected officials or governing bodies. So in my eyes, because it has that specifically spelled out, I don't see it as a risk. I see it as an opportunity to educate the public and get some community involvement.
Yeah, and I totally support community involvement. I'm just kind of looking for a community involvement piece prior to resolution.
Well, I guess,
Is that, and am I just totally not making?
I guess in the process is to start with your local units of government.
Sure.
To make sure your local units of government are comfortable with pursuing. So, you know, the industrial authority is the county economic development piece of the county. So we discussed this. Ben is a member of that. George was in that meeting.
Have they already?
Yeah, this recommendation is coming forward from the industrial authority
Sure.
to proceed with the education. Nothing else, just to proceed with the
And
education.
we get the agendas right prior. I wish I would have looked at that and just said, because it don't specifically say on the agenda that there's a resolution associated with it. You know? Does that make sense? And that's no issue with nobody.
So if you have that, if you're that concerned about the resolution that's only binding you to the education that you want, then don't pass the resolution. If it makes you feel more comfortable that you want to pass a motion to approve proceeding with the community engagement, to have that community conversation, then that's what I would recommend to you.
Well, we've got a motion and a second, first of all.
Sure.
So, we just proceed with the vote. Okay. Okay. Is there any more comments?
Is anybody open to proceed forward, like Kevin said, with the engagement piece and holding on the resolution until the next regular call meeting? Is there, anybody see an issue with that? Ben, is there an issue, like, not having this resolution but going forward with the community engagement? Does that have like a concern?
So, do we go ahead and call the roll on the? Okay. If we know it.
The only way to do this motion would be for the individual that made the motion to withdraw, but there is a motion in a second, so sure, see the roll call for us to withdraw.
Okay.
Which is who was judging? So with the resolution.
Okay. Clerk call roll.
Johnny Austin,
Yes.
Judge Schwartz,
Yes.
Joe McCann,
Yes.
Woody Wood,
Yes.
Mark Horsley.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, and we will move on with, thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Kaylee Ziegler, Breeze Management Plan. Kaylee works with Buffalo Trace Area Development as well. She's been working hard on this regional debris management plan for a while.
Yes. Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, everybody. So I don't have a resolution or anything for y'all to pass. Just wanted to give a brief update about the debris management plan. Just to give you a little bit of background. So the origin of this plan started in late 2018, actually. So I was looking before I came. So in 2018, the Fiscal Court passed the resolution to be the lead applicant for these funds to pass through. So the debris management plan is funded by the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program on the FEMA side. So the Fiscal Court is the pass-through agent for this plan. You're the lead applicant, but it is a regional plan in the sense that all of the counties and cities will adopt it. Okay. So these funds were actually awarded in 2020. And since then, there have been several extensions, as you can imagine, which have allowed us to continue work on this plan up into this date. And so this plan, as I mentioned, it is regional. So we've been having meetings, I've been having meetings, as Judge mentioned, in each county. So we're also going through our hazard mitigation plan writing. So we're using the local mitigation committees to go through the debris management plan as well. Okay, and the main goals of the debris management plan, number one is to help determine reuse, reclamation, recovery, incineration, and landfill disposal with debris. And this is in response to a natural disaster. Okay. Also to identify roles and responsibilities at the local level, so local administration, state and federal liaisons, debris removal contractors, general oversight of the removal and disposal process, etc. I'm sure in the past you all have dealt with debris removal after any type of disaster. That could be flooding, tornadoes, just heavy storms. So it's the same general process, just outlined so that it aligns with FEMA regulations. And so again, one of the main goals of this plan is to make sure that when and if you need to contract debris removal work out, that you're doing it in line with FEMA regulations so that you can be, can't say it'll be faster, but it'll be easier to meet those FEMA requirements when you apply for that funding, reimbursement funding, okay? Part of the process that we've done throughout these meetings is identify debris removal priorities, and that have been roadways and streets in the county, also in cities, so we're having individual meetings between both. Identify any critical infrastructure points, and that's buildings and or utilities. EMS, fire departments, police departments, schools, and listing those out specifically for debris removal priority clearance. Okay. And then just in general, another goal is to identify response operations when the local workforce is not enough. So I'm sure you're familiar with the process after natural hazards volunteer groups come in, and that work is reimbursable. It just has to be well documented, of course, when you're dealing with FEMA. And so this plan also outlines in specific all of that work as well. Okay. So the current end of the period of performance for this plan is August 7th of this year. Okay, and so that's when we at the me specifically, I will submit the draft plan to Kentucky EM, and then they will review it. And so whether they come back with revisions that need to be made or not, it'll either move up the chain or we'll need to make those revisions. And then at that point, once it's approved, then the fiscal court will need to formally adopt the plan. So that's in the future, and then of course I'll come back at that point to discuss that. Okay. So since the plan is due next month, it is mostly complete. Wrapping up with the final draft right now. I am having final meetings this month with each community, that's county and city. I'll actually be here tomorrow for that, for Lewis counties and Vanceburgs. And then our draft plan has been posted to the BTAD Facebook page, and that is for public review and comment, so it'll be up for 30 days. And then if anyone from the public, and that's for all 5 counties, not just Lewis County since it's a regional plan, if they want to make comments, then they can give those to me, and then those details are along on our Facebook page. Okay. Does anybody have questions, fiscal court wise? Do you all have questions about the debris management plan? Any progress updates else you want to know about?
I appreciate all the work you've done on this, Kaylee. I know you've been up here a few times and met with us, and you presented at the Buffalo Trace meeting as well. So thank you. So maybe the guys and ladies will get up on the site and take a look at that and put some comments on it. Does anybody have any questions for Kaylee? Thank you for being here today.
Yep.
I appreciate your work on it.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Okay, next is resolution number 2614, local assistance road program, LARP and agreement. David, did you have a couple of things to say about that? We're going to read this first.
Resolution number 2026-14, resolution adopting and approving the execution of the memorandum of agreement between the Lewis County Fiscal Court and the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet Department of Highways for in the amount of $243,000 for the local assistance road program funds, and be resolved by the fiscal court that the fiscal court does hereby ratify the all those statements, representations, warranties, covenants, and agreements contained in said agreement, and does hereby accept the funds provided in said agreement, and does all the terms and conditions therein stated. And the judge executive of the county is hereby authorized and directed to sign said agreement as set forth on behalf of the fiscal court of Lewis County and the fiscal court of Lewis County is hereby authorized and directed to certify thereto.
Okay, we got approved for four roads on this, and so we'll just need approval on it.
So those 4 roads are Raleigh County Road 1334 from mile Cabin Creek Road for approximately 1 mile. Poplar Flat Road, County Road 1347 for mile post 2.180, extending to Kentucky 9 for approximately 0.726 miles. Scaffold Lick Road, County Road 1023 from Kentucky 8, extending to mile post 0.600 or approximately 0.600 miles. McDowell Creek Road, County Road 1007 for mile post 3.044, extending to the end of county maintenance for approximately 1 mile.
Make a motion to accept resolution 26-14.
Okay, we got a motion, do we have a second? Second. Motion from Woody, second from Joey, any further discussion? Clerk call roll.
Judge Sparks,
Yes.
Joe McCann,
Yes.
Woody
Yes.
Underwood, Mark Horsley,
Yes.
Johnny Osmer.
Yes.
Okay. Next is resolution number 2615, Lewis County Recreational Park Phase 2.
Resolution of Lewis County Fiscal Court, Lewis County, Kentucky, authorizing the Lewis County Judge Executive to sign all documents relating to Lewis County Recreational Park Phase 2 LWCF grant. Whereas this resolution is necessary to authorize the Judge Executive to execute any and all documents deemed necessary to execute the agreement for the use of the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant money with the Commonwealth of Kentucky Department for Local Government on behalf of the County of Lewis. Whereas this resolution authorizes the Judge Executive to act as a correspondent for this project and authorizes the Judge Executive to take any action he deems reasonable to begin, continue, and complete this project. Now therefore be resolved this 14th day of July 2026 by the Lewis County Fiscal Court of Lewis County, Kentucky, that it hereby approves entering into an agreement with the Commonwealth of Kentucky Department for Local Government for the purpose of completing the Lewis County Recreational Park Phase 2. The Lewis County Judge Executive is hereby authorized to execute and deliver all documents required to implement the execution of this resolution.
Okay, this is for the $250,000 grant to build ball fields. And we also should be receiving $250,000 through the grant program for the match on that. And my understanding is it has to go back to Frankfurt, they're going to review it, sign it, and then we'll be ready to begin to make our plan for working on ball fields.
Okay, I know you're on the recreation board there. Will this complete the ball fields? I think there's 4 ball fields in the plan.
I'm not sure that this $500,000 altogether is going to complete it. Because that phase 2, I think it's 4 ball fields on a say total, up to a year, but I don't think it'll complete.
Is there like structures with them, like dugout, pipe?
It is, I'm not sure with the other money that the $1 million that was awarded, we've not got the stipulations on that, what we can use that for. We're hoping maybe some of that's for that as well.
Is these projects up for bid, or gonna be up for bid, or they got somebody?
The engineer, I think, Judge had talked to Missy Harvey there, I think, once we get everything signed and approved, and I think that they will advertise for an engineer, am I correct, Judge?
Yes, I think we're gonna have an engineer to do a little bit of work and guide us on that.
Like an architect or an engineer?
Well, there's some drawings of it, and I think the way Missy talked, we might have to have some more, we might have to have an engineer, architect, take a look at that and see, just help us guide us and how to get everything laid out inside.
I make a motion to approve.
Pickleball courts and all that later down the road, or is it gonna be at these ball fields?
Well, these are supposed to be the sports complex that has 2 regular size softball and baseball field and a little league softball, baseball field. That's what this money is supposed to be used for. Now, we have $1 million, and, we may have to use some of that to finish this, and or it may be used for some other stuff too. We're hoping to go as far as we can with the funding we have. And this has been a while coming down, but my understanding is it's going to come available pretty soon.
I'll have it on the line.
Okay, so we got a motion.
No.
Woody?
I'll second that
A
motion.
second from Mark, any further discussion?
Yes, Kenny, I know you're on that board. Could we maybe get an update maybe the next fiscal board meeting? Could you put in a request that we get an update from the rec board on the plans and the phases? Because I'm not Joey, I'm getting questions about what's coming, what's next. People are excited about it, it's a good thing.
So it's two separate things. So the recreational park board is a 501c. It's it's private, it's its own entity. So it's separate than the money that you're all getting from West County Fiscal. The recreational park board is doing is trying to go to local leaders to get donations. They was able to do the shelter up there. They was able to do the basketball court. We're trying to work now towards pickleball. It's been a little bit since we've had a meeting. I think the board side, it's about 25,000 that they've got in that account. But we've got some prices on trying to do, I guess, 4 pickleball, 2 courts, so 4 pickleball. It's my understanding what they're wanting to do that they have voted on. So that is separate from this fiscal court, am I correct then? With that fiscal court, I mean, this is all going to be running through fiscal court. The board is like 501c.
Okay, so we got a motion from Woody and a second from Mark, and any further discussion? If not, clerk call roll.
Johnny McCann.
Yes.
Woody Underwood.
Yes.
Mark Horsley.
Yes.
Johnny Osborne. Judge Schwartz.
Yes. Next, the 2025-26 annual treasurer settlement.
I do have the settlement here in one line to look at it. This is the whole year for the fiscal year. Everything that you all got has been broken down monthly as far as financial statements. Your bank registers for your invoices plus the cash receipts. This here is just a total for the full year.
I make the motion to approve the 25-26 annual treasurer settlement.
Second. We got a motion from Woody and a second from Joey, and any further discussion? And clerk call roll.
Woody
Yes.
Underwood. Mark Horsley.
Yes.
Johnny Osborne. Judge Schwartz.
Yes.
Joe McCann.
Okay, next is advertise the financial pages of the audit in lieu of a full settlement.
I make that motion.
Second.
Motion from Woody, second from Mark, any further discussion? Clerk call roll.
Mark Horsley.
Yes.
Johnny Osborne. Judge Schwartz.
Yes.
Joe McCann.
Yes.
Woody Underwood.
Yes.
Okay, and the attorney financial report.
You have extra copies of those. Well, somebody, I'm not required to give you a report, but I do this, every fiscal year, just for your information. I've got 3 checking accounts in office, delinquent tax account, a diversion cold check account, and an escrow account. The first account there that you have is the delinquent tax account. This is money that the income in that account is collected from the county clerk as monthly commission for collection and enforcement of delinquent tax bills and tax liens, answering delinquent tax lawsuits and foreclosure suits. So for fiscal year 2026, we received $44,510.12 as the monthly commission. You can see our expenses there. Fiscal court does not contribute any money to this account. Any questions on that particular account? The next one is, and also the check register is attached on the second page so that you can see every electronic funds transfer, every check that's been issued from our office. The diversion cold check account, this is money that we receive from diversion programs in district court, such as a online traffic safety program, online anger management course, several courses that individuals can take. There is a cost to that, and we get a portion of that cost. We also, if we had any cold checks, we were entitled to a $50 cold check fee for any cold check that we prosecute. Did not have any cold checks for fiscal year, this last fiscal year. And you can see the categories of expenses there. Fiscal court does not contribute any money to that account. Mostly that account pays for our delinquent tax software system that we use. We spent over $3,000 on that software last fiscal year.
Ben, where does, like, the difference there, right, like the number, where's that, where do you get, does that have to balance out to zero?
No.
Yeah, no?
No, we, it just fluctuates monthly.
Okay.
It's hard to make a budget for that because we don't know how many cold checks we can get and how many defendants participate in the conversion program. The second one is political tax. We just don't know what our monthly commission is going to be for month to month.
So like, contributing money to that account really don't matter because it's just gonna change all the change.
Right.
I got you.
Right. Yeah. And then the last account is our escrow account that we keep money from payment agreements that taxpayers enter into within our office. If you have a delinquent tax bill, and if you qualify, you can do a monthly payment system within our office to pay your delinquent tax bill. This is where that money goes and sits until you contribute enough money to pay off your tax bill, and then we'll go to the clerk's office and pay off that tax bill. So that's, and I don't have to check register that because part of the department it's not Department of Revenue, but it's Finance Cabinet. Information concerning delinquent taxpayers is confidential, so that's why that's not in there. I will say the only thing the fiscal court does pay for in my office, you do not pay for any supplies or anything of that nature. You pay my salary of approximately $30,000 and part of Chelsea's salary, and that is it. You contribute nothing else to my office. I don't want you to contribute anything else to my office. As you can see, we have the funds to run our office. You don't pay for any fees associated with special prosecutors, which there are none, so that's not coming out of anything the fiscal court is doing. So if there's any questions on anything, I would be glad to answer those.
Okay. We have to make a motion of
You do not.
acceptance or acknowledgement.
No, I'm just doing this as a courtesy to you, and I will continue to do that so long as I'm county attorney.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Ben, very much. Appreciate that. Next is advertise for bids for the 2026-2027 blacktop projects.
Make a motion.
Okay.
Do we have a list of those?
Yeah, I was wondering.
Is these the flex funds, right, David?
Yes. I picked out some routes, we can get them all figured out, I got a list you can add to see if anything you think's worth, let me know.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I've got a couple here I can share with you.
If you got it, you know, they've got to look at them and they've got to be a 10 in their book, the state. And once we get all them picked out, and we're hoping to do it, he's been working on them, hoping to have them soon and submit them. So do we need to have approval to do these bids yet, or hold off on that since we don't have them ready?
Sure.
Okay. All right, so you guys work with David, let him know if there's particular roads and areas on those roads that you feel it needs to be on that list.
I make a motion to table the advertisement for bids.
Okay,
I'll second that.
so we got a motion from Woody, a second from Mark. Any further discussion? Clerk, call roll.
Johnny Osborne.
Yes.
Judge Sparks.
Yes.
Joey McCann.
Yes.
Woody Underwood.
Yes.
Mark Horsley.
Yes.
Okay, next is discussion of cameras. I haven't put this on there for bids. I have worked with Ben and Quentin Allen, that works for the school, and told him to go ahead and put cameras up at the courthouse doors and 1 or 2, maybe 3 up to the recreational park, because we're going to put an AED up there. And we feel like we need to have a good camera on that AED so it doesn't get stolen. It's going to be on the outside of the bathroom so it can be seen from the parking lot. And I really will have a nice cabinet like Ben has upstairs to put it in, but we want to have cameras up there so that's protected.
You got an AD in your office, Ben?
It's in the hallway.
Yeah.
I thought it was something true. I thought, well, you shot the map out.
The Prosecutors Advisory Council provided us with an AED for some reason, so
We have a lot of them, that's good.
So anyway, me and Ben, we worked with Quentin and went around and looked at the places that we feel like we need cameras. We've been talking about them for a long time, so he's going to order the equipment and put those in. Next is discussion of RAVE Mobile Safety Renewal Agreement. We've had this for 5 years. This is the 5th year, and the contract is going to need to be renewed in October, and I've talked to Dennis about this. He really likes it, and we have a lot of people signed up for it. And there are some other emergency alert systems out there that he's going to look at closely before we renew the contract and make sure that this is the best deal for us, and maybe present his findings maybe next month, and then we can either renew this one or maybe get a different one. But he uses it a lot, right, Dennis?
Quite a bit. I think we used 9 times last month, average of 9 to 15 a month.
Yeah, so, and we've got a lot of people in the county that signed up, and they get texts and or calls or both, and when, like flash flood, tornado warnings and stuff like that.
So it's been nice, and would like to continue on with that. We want to make sure we get the best deal possible. Next is the monthly reports. Lewis County Sheriff Johnny Bivens. Any questions? Johnny, we appreciate all of our first responders and you guys. I mean, been a tough week with having 2 people killed on the roads, and so we definitely appreciate all of our first responders who take care of our people. Appreciate you guys. Any questions for the sheriff? Well, thank you, Johnny, and next is County Jailer Ron Walker. I'm sure his report is in here. We do need a motion to approve his report. Okay, we got a motion from Joey. I'll second from Johnny. Any further discussion? Clerk call roll.
Judge Marks.
Yes.
Joey McCann. Woody Underwood.
Yes.
Mark Horsley.
Yes.
Johnny Osborne.
Yes. Next is County Treasurer.
I'll submit the report. I'll be happy to answer any questions. This one is actually the last of the previous fiscal year for 25, so that's the numbers that you're looking at this time.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Mark, a second from Woody. Thank you, Penny. I know she works hard on keeping the numbers right. No further discussion. Clerk call roll.
Joey McCann. Woody Underwood. Mark Horsley.
Yes.
Johnny Osborne. Judge Marks.
Yes. Okay, Lewis County Supervisor David Goodwin. Activity report.
I most appreciate some of the mowing. I know I've noticed quite a bit of that, so that's good. I sent a few ones in. I just want to follow up with you. On 5-4, I sent in straight work, a ditch. I think you went up top of Miss Light up there, water running across the road. I think she was just hoping to get the ditch maybe widened a little bit deeper across the road from her house. You got it? Okay. Stanford Road, the creek bank, where the creek bank was washing in during that high water. You put gravel on the road. How long after that, the high water from Laurel or from Grass can come down, and the roads drop down some. They pull trailers in and out of there, and it's pretty narrow. I was up there the other day. Last fiscal court meeting, we briefly touched on Red Oak Lane, some ditching just past the culvert on that road. Okay. All right. something else, just recently, well, I know we found that the road signs, the end of county maintenance road signs on Old Trace were apparently stolen pretty recently. The one on the top side, I verified that it has also been stolen. The top side is the one that I'm most concerned about, and again, you alluded to this the other day when we were discussing another road, is there's no indicator that it's the end of county maintenance, and that hill is pretty rough. So if somebody not knowing there's still route through there, goes down over that hill, it could make a mess, and it has made some messes. I know it's a hassle and it's aggravating that we have people stealing our road signs, but if we could get that replaced, I think that would be in the best interest of the county. Okay. I had another one that was on the list here, it's been on the list for a while, Sergeant Branch.
I know it's pretty little potholes.
We got the grader at Long Reach, and I want to finish up 377 before I drive along with Peter, we don't have to drive back down to the thing.
Okay. All right, and, I don't know if you went and looked at the intersection of Lexi Lane and Hazel, where the creek bank's washing away the corner of the bridge there. It's pretty steep drop off there. I'll let some of you tough fix. Yeah, just wanted to follow up on those. Appreciate the work that has been done. On the list there that you're making for the funding for the repaving request, I know that if you guys know of any ends, we need to make sure we get those on that list. Last year they approved all of them with ends. Now we don't know what they're going to store, but if they look bad, you need to make sure to let them know. I know he's got a list there, and he might have these on the list, but here's a few of them that I've come across that I know would probably rank ends. The upper end of Polar Holler, I know that's pretty rough. Lyles Road, Upper Trace, or Old Trace, the upper end up past Nolan Branch. I know the upper part, the lower part's pretty good, but the lower part's pretty bad. And then Raccoon Branch. I don't know what they're gonna store when they store them, but I would imagine those would be nines and possibly tens.
What's the flex fund number?
You talking the whole road that's from Raccoon or section?
Yes, the section where the pipe was replaced and the road washed out there. That's
It's
got
over
it.
200,000, maybe 203,000 something. Unfortunately. And they are saying tens, I mean, funding with, judges and on some of the stuff with funding. I think it's going to get stricter and stricter with, with making sure that they're tens.
Last year, if we would submit more, we would probably receive more than what we submitted. They funded everything.
We do need to submit the cans, and it doesn't matter what county, what, district they're in, but if you know areas that are bad, let David know about it. Appreciate that. Anything else for David? Okay, thank you, David.
Yeah, I appreciate everything you do down there, but very, very, you and your crew.
They've been a lot of work on. Next was Canam Patrol, Missy Kennard. Missy?
$22? Okay. And for the year, you've gotten rid of how many? Okay. Well, thank you very much for that, and we're working with the Humane Society in Louisville, and we're hoping to get them to come to the Tollsboro Lions Club in August, and they'll do set up on the 10th, and spay and neuter cats all day on the 11th, and spay and neuter dogs all day on the 12th, and then leave. And that's for Lewis and Fleming County. It's not going to do any from the animal shelter, but it's going to help the shelter by cutting down the number that are born. Thank you, Missy.
I guess, is that free to public?
It is. They have to put up a $35 fee, and they can either request that be given back, or they will ask them if they would consider donating that.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, it will ultimately be free. So we're working with Craig Stanfield at the Lions Club to try to get that set up, and me and Missy are. Lewis County Emergency Management Director Dennis Brown.
I've submitted the report. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dennis.
Any questions for Dennis? I know he's helped him with the accident this week as well, and we appreciate that. And been taking a lot of training, and we're getting ready to work with the nursing home maybe up there to do a little tabletop here pretty soon. So, thank you, Dennis. Next is Lewis County Solid Waste Coordinator Roger Lewis. So they're picking up a lot of roads right now. Litter abatement crews are, right? And we had our county-wide week-long cleanup the first week of June, wasn't it? And we got a lot accomplished there, didn't we? Getting a lot of stuff cleaned up. I know Roger works with the sheriff, and he works with Ben a lot. And we're trying our best to get some of these places cleaned up, and we'll continue to work on that. And we appreciate your all's help working with Roger to try to help us with some of these people.
Speaking of cleanup, a piece of trash don't stand a chance in Garrison with Doc Wilbur walking the streets. Like, I want to acknowledge that, right? Like,
Got that right.
Like, he's extended his radius, right? Like, he's going down to Murphy's Lane. But I was wondering, and it's really not in the scope of maybe this piece, but I thought about wondering if we could get him some kind of little small storage unit that could be housed maybe at the park. Just something I'm thinking about, and then we won't go into a lot of discussion right now, just something to think about, Penny and Judge, and something where he could put some of his things in. You know, I don't know where he's storing his stuff right now, but
Just
like
a little small building.
just something that he would have access to. Now, I don't know how that looks with it being locked and, or unlocked. Like, I don't really know. I don't really know what the thoughts are on that, but I just thought I'd mention that.
Okay.
He's not asked for hardly ever anything, just a couple rakes, and I think Penny's he hit y'all up, or somebody hit you up on a leaf blower, I think.
Yeah, but that was probably maybe a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Something like that he has
What
up for
would be ideal is if somehow he had electric access, and I don't know how he could ever get that there, where he
Yeah.
could have chargers or something, but.
Cindy was charging, because some of them we got was like the battery, rechargeable batteries. Cindy was charging them for him. I do know
maybe
that.
so. I just didn't know, he's not asked. I just kind of got to thinking his brooms or his trash bags and that kind of stuff.
Usually Cindy will let us know if they need trash bags.
Okay.
She's usually the one that we'll hear from. He'll let her know.
Well,
and I think Cindy does a lot as well.
It doesn't stand a chance, man.
They say he's up there all the time and he takes
I wish we
care
had
of it.
$1 for every mile he walked. We'd take care of our funding problems.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. No, but good shout out to Doc. Okay, I'm sorry to prolong the meeting. Go ahead, Judge.
Okay, thank you, Woody.
No problem.
And next is Lewis County 911 Monthly Activity Report. I'm sure that report's in your packet there, and if you have any questions, Dennis is here. I know he has been working on that some with, go ahead and tell him what you've done this week.
We completed migration to next generation 911 last week. We were the 26th out of all of the PSAPs in the state to have that migration. So it allows a lot more features. It allows text to 911 now, which helps in domestic violence situations. Deaf and hard of hearing can text to 911 now. We can communicate back and forth. The geolocation services, if you call from anywhere in the county, we can pretty much tell exactly where you are now on those maps. Compared to before it was analog, it was determining based on cellular towers where you were, and now it's geolocation, so it's within a couple of yards of where you're actually at.
So the texting to 911, is it just, you just put in the number in your cell phone, 911, and you can text
Yes.
whatever message, and that geolocation knows to send it to our dispatch center?
It will, and it works. Most of the counties around us have also already switched
that's a big step in the right direction. I'm glad to hear that.
Yep. It's pretty nice. I tested it over there on my phone and it worked, and so all you have to do is text 911. And if you're in the house and you don't want to pick up the phone and call somebody because there's somebody in there, you can have a conversation through text message and not say a word with the dispatcher. So thank you, Dennis. And next is Lewis County Ambulance Service, Michael Babel.
How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Great, thank you for being here, Michael.
I'll make mine kind of short. I'll go over the highlights. Last month was one of the busiest months we've had. Lewis County as a whole was dispatched 180 EMS calls. We took 175 of those. So we only mutually aided 5 times with other services. We transported 128 patients out of that. We got 40 refusals, which is about our average for refusals. We did 60 ALS transports out of all those transported patients. So, you know, one of the big, you know, awestrucks that you all see is, you know, our total loaded mileage was 2,985 miles, and our total miles driven for the month was 11,238. So we put a lot of miles on our trucks going around this county. Any questions for me on these? I am going to invite up Brenda, our treasurer, is here where it is the end of the fiscal year. I asked her to be here, so she's going to come up and give you all a little bit of an update if there's no questions for me.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know you've been busy, and we appreciate you and your staff.
He has really been busy, and I want to say Michael does an excellent job and has an excellent staff. And I think we've heard all good comments, a lot of comments throughout the county, how well they maintain them. But we have finished our second fiscal year. For the last year, we've increased our fee schedule. We've also went ALS this last year, so it's helped us some. So right now, for the fiscal year of last year, we did come out with a little extra money, a couple $1,000s extra money. So we broke pretty much even. So we're really pleased with that.
Yeah.
We ran across some expenses last year. We had about $75,000 worth of maintenance to our trucks. So that's going to be the next adventure that we're going to have to address soon. As you know, all the trucks are going to keep needing maintenance and so forth. We also took our Buffalo Trace loan. We have paid that off, but we have turned around and reapplied because we were getting 6%, charging 6% for our Buffalo Trace loan. I reapplied for that at 4%. Say it's 2% for that. That's emergency money that we may need. And we'll also have that invested. I will reinvest it. We'll have that invested at 4%, a little over 4% anyway. So we're going to kind of break even on that. But it's very important for us to have that money available in case we do need it and continue having these maintenance costs and other costs. We're pleased with what we did in the it's 3 years fiscal year, I guess, because we had a short year the first year. So third year, we're in the process of getting our audits completed. It should be done in the next few weeks. We'll get our audits completed. I just wanted to come and just say that we're pleased with where we're at this point, and we're working very hard. We try to give our employees what they need to do their jobs. We've worked really hard on that this past year. And we're just going to continue working on that. So is there any questions you all have about the service?
I really appreciate all that you've done and that Michael's done, and I know you're watching the numbers there, so that makes me feel good about that. I know that $75,000 in maintenance seems high, you know, but it is a fleet of ambulances that are high miles. I know that you had discussed and had applied for some grants for new ambulances. Has there been any movement on that front?
Now, there hasn't been, I talked to Kevin today, and he, it's all politics at this point, we're just waiting. He tried to get some information today to see where that stood, and he could not get any information. It's kind of 50-50. We applied last year, didn't get it, we applied again this year, and it's kind of 50-50 if we get it. No promises.
Sure.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Okay.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. We've done everything.
Sure. I'm sure you have. Okay.
Possible we could do. We've submitted all the information, we've reapplied again. David's done all the work on that too. We've reapplied for the grant. And, our numbers look good, but there's a lot of people applying for that funds. So we're still hoping that we will get that this year. Kevin also said that it's not uncommon to be turned down the first couple of years. You just have to keep applying, but we really need some new squads. I mean, it's going to be important as we go on, and our squads will get over, and it's really important that we find a way, through grant or some way to get some new squads. Any other questions? Do you have anything to add, Dan?
I would like to thank Kevin since he's here. He's been a tremendous asset among all of you all as well. I mean, this has been a county venture by everybody. Johnny, Ben, Penny, Dennis, George. I mean, without everybody's help, this wouldn't be possible. I can't believe over the past almost 3 years, the amount of runs that's come out of Lewis County. That's all I heard. We have 20 employees now. And I think that was the one challenge that I looked at going in. Of course, the amount of runs that I thought we hoped we would do, and then plus the number of employees. And I've been pleased by both. I mean, we have 2 trucks 24/7. That being said, we have bad accidents on the AA or somewhere else. It takes more than 2 trucks. Michael has done a tremendous job getting mutual aid to the other surrounding counties. And they will come. And that's been a big, big asset to us.
Sure.
But I can't be more pleased than the way things are going. We continue to move forward. We're looking at applying for a grant through the Gary Sinise Foundation. I don't know if you all know who Gary Sinise is. He has a lot of money at his disposal every year, and we're going to see if we can get part of it. And we continue to explore options. Kevin comes with us with new ideas all the time. Like I said, can't be more pleased with the partnership that we have with Buffalo Trace. He gives us great advice. We try to follow him, and that spells success. I'll ask it, or I'll answer any questions if anybody's got anything for me.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes.
you, guys.
I was communicating by email with Eddie Sloan this week, and he was bragging about Michael and the board, and how you guys have, he first came down here, he didn't think, I don't think they're going to be able to get that ambulance service up and running, but he said, you guys did it, and he said he was talking about it in some of their meetings, and there's other counties that need our help and our advice, and I said, we'll help them any way we can. Okay, thank you all very much. Approval of claims for all county funds as presented to the fiscal court.
I make a motion.
Okay, we got a motion from Woody. Second from Joey. Any further discussion? Clerk, call roll.
Mark Horsley.
Yes.
Johnny Osborne.
Yes.
Judge Sparks.
Yes.
Joey McCann.
Yes.
Woody Underwood.
Yes.
Okay, approval of transfers for all county funds and presented to the court.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion
Sorry.
from Mark, second from Johnny. Any further discussion? Clerk, call roll.
Johnny Osborne.
Yes.
Judge Sparks.
Yes.
Joey McCann.
Yes.
Woody Underwood.
Yes.
Mark Horsley.
Yes.
Okay, if no further questions or anything, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Motion from Woody, second from Joey. Clerk, call roll.
Judge Sparks,
Yes.
Joey McCann,
Yes.
Woody Underwood.
Yes.
Mark Horsley,
Yes.
Johnny Osborne.
Yes. Okay, our next regular physical court meeting will be held on August the 10th, 2026 at 3 p.m. Thank you all very much.